All right, so if you want to make your figure in Miro, I find it easier. So I'm going to send you an invite to Sure Biology. So hopefully once you get on, you'll be able to see shared boards. So there's one called Plant Figures. So you'll go duplicate that. Click on the three dots and duplicate, and you can say Plant Figures. So you put your name here. Don't share it with the same people because you just want it for you. So you'll copy that, and it will open up. And so basically, I have Miro as a desktop app. If you want to download that, you can, but you don't have to. So I could say cancel because this is going to be in the browser. So I've made some figure here for an example, but I'll just show you a few of these steps of how you might do something like this. So first of all, I think instead of using text, you should use shapes. Now, the nice thing about Miro is that no matter what you do, you can actually always change it. So if you put a text in or you have a shape in or whatever, sticky notes, like you can change them between each other, and you can already have information in here and then just change it into a different format. So anyway, I'm gonna make this have see-through background and no border. So what this is going to be is our figure title. So this is way too big. Down here is where you zoom in and out, and if you get lost in the board, you can click the map, and the map will bring you can find like where you're working. So if I want to go to figure, here's my new one. Just close that back up again. So I would work at like, I don't know, a little bit under 100, but not too much, something like this. So figure 1, if you know your plant type, so it's a genus, so I'm going to italicize it, lower petalum, okay. And leaf, that's what it is. I want this bolded. So basically, once you click on it, you can see all the options here, but you use your shortcuts. In your lab archives book, actually, I believe I have a spot here about, in your book, about using shortcuts. If not, I'll try to put that in. Anyway. Okay, so period, and then you're going to have your different figure letters, and each of the letters should be bolded. Anything that you're doing that's like words that are important that I should be able to find quickly should be bolded, and so forth. So I'm going to actually make, for the figure legend, I'm going to change it to being left justified, and I'll put it at the top of this. And so basically we'll type in there like that. This is actually a shape though, so you can change, any of the characteristics of the background or the border, but you don't want either of those for the caption. Okay, so I'm going to put a picture on here. So one thing you can do is to do this little upload business and find it wherever online that you stored it, or on your device, and make sure you're on the arrow. So if you're on the hand, it moves it around, but the arrow means that you can do stuff. Okay, so I'm just going to go to my pictures, and I want this one, so I'm just going to drag it, just because I'm recording. Okay, so I only need part of this, so I'm going to crop it. So by that, I clicked on it. There's a crop here, and so I'll crop that down to what I want. And this one, I'm going to be showing the axillary buds, let's say. So that's these little leafy things that are sprouting right next to the other leaf, and the reason I'm doing that is because it shows that it's a single leaf, not a compound leaf. Great, and I click outside that. All right, so you can resize it. Always by the corners, never by the edges. You do it by the edges, which this won't even let you do. It distorts the image, which you don't want. Okay, so that's something I'm going to want to use. And let's say I want to label it. So there are shapes in here besides the square. So here's, like, for example, an arrow. Here's all shapes, basic shapes, and then there's some connectors and things. Connectors are, I like these arrows better, but connectors are actually meant to connect objects, and so they tend to snap to the object, and it's kind of annoying. So there's that. Let's see. Okay, my arrow, and you're like, well, where is the arrow? So it's invisible. So let me fill in the inside of it. I'm just going to make it white, and there it's very large. So I can shrink that down, and I really hate this arrow, but it's the best we got. You can rotate it. I'm going to rotate it. If you want it to like snap to positions, you can sort of feel it as it goes. And so that's one of the axial buds. I'm going to duplicate it by selecting it and putting Command D. That duplicates whatever. Here's another axillary bud. I'm going to close this side up. So then in my caption, I would write something about axillary buds with arrows, and you can see that in my example caption. I'm not going to go through at all because it takes a little bit of thinking how to do this. But you can see I have the arrows, and I tell you that what they are. I have some labels on here. I'm using brackets. I've traced this. How do I do the letters? So we can do that part together. Again, I'm going to use a box. So I'll go back to the box, and I'm going to drag it. I want it to be an actual square, so instead of just dragging it, I'm going to hold Shift down, and that means it's going to give me an actual square. Okay, so I want it to be a background of, in this case, white, because that's contrasty. I want my writing to be black. I want the writing to be in the middle, and I want it to be in the middle vertically as well. So there is my letter. Let's say it's A. Need that to be bigger, and hold my Shift down. That looks pretty good. So that would be in the corner. Now to group it all together, let's just say this is all I wanted on there. You're gonna, oops, I don't want that. Click and then drag to select everything you want at once. Let's say I selected something extra, like I don't want this A grouped, and you can hold Shift to select or unselect. You can also hold Shift and then just click on everything you want. It's so much easier to drag though. And then I'm going to group it. So now everything will move with each other. If I want to edit anything specifically, then I can double click on that and then I can edit. Let's say I wanted to edit that. I could do that there. If you have a problem and you can't see something, it might be because it's behind the other stuff. So in order to change the ordering, you have, like, I'm on the arrow now. If you click on the 3 dots, it'll say bring to front, bring to back. So if I send that to the back, it's going to go behind everything else in the picture. If I bring it to the front, then you'll be able to see it again. There's a drawing tool here. So for example, I decided to trace the veins on this one to show the center vein and then how they're all branching off of that so that I can classify. I also could change this to the highlighter so it's sort of see-through and highlight that middle vein there, and then I talk about that in my, caption here. So basically your caption is explaining how you figured out all the classifications. To ungroup, you can click it and just ungroup here. And then there are ways to format everything all at once and that kind of fancy things. You can always look at the help. So this question mark here, it'll bring up all this stuff. You can also search for anything you want and it'll bring up help right in the window, and then you can also go to extra help, which will have more instructions, and there's stuff for everything. I mean, this is about shapes. Oh, and how to get it out of here in the end. So what you do is you select everything that's your whole figure, and then you're going to go to 3 dots and say create frame. So now it's going to be a frame, which means that it's all together. You can still individually move things. But then you click on the name of the frame, and you can click on the 3 dots, and then you can say export as image and choose. So vector PDF is going to be a large size file, but it doesn't lose any quality. And then these are other options. So medium seems to be fine. Small actually is probably fine. Then you can export it, JPEG, and so then you would have that exported. So then what are you going to do with that? You're going to put it in your notebook. So basically you would do, let's say I want to put it here. I'm going to do an attachment. I'm going to go find that file, which I just done here. I'm going to save it to the page. And then it's going to show me that figure that I just uploaded.